Hello, good afternoon. Welcome back to Imelda's Home Care and Staffing Services. Today, I would like to share with you my PowerPoint presentation, and it's all about supporting individuals with intellectual disabilities and mental illness. Now, before that, I would like you to share. I would like to share you my PowerPoint presentation. There it goes. All right, so supporting individuals with intellectual disabilities and mental illness. This is dedicated to all those who support and care for individuals with both intellectual disabilities and mental illness. This is for you. Now, let me introduce myself, okay, your presenter. My name is Imelda Pengson. I am the owner of Imelda's Home Care and Staffing Services LLC located here in Illinois. This is a business that focuses on a family caregiving and counseling, home care staffing, and personal services for persons with disabilities or persons with intellectual disabilities. My own experience, my expertise, and my passion for caring for people led me to the idea of IHCSS. Stands for Imelda's Home Care and Staffing Services LLC, and the building of a successful home care industry. Now, this module has a learning outcome. Okay, so after completing this module, you will be able to explain why quality care services depend on understanding client. Next is list the 4 guiding principles of support work. Next, describe how support workers use the strengths and resources of clients and their communities. Now, let me go over with this knowledge and skill that you will learn. There are 4 of them. The first one is mental health, next, healthcare, social care, and the last one is disability. So this online intellectual disability and mental health course will teach you about how quality care services depend on understanding clients. Okay, so you will study the 4 guiding principles of support work and how the strengths and resources of clients and their communities are involved in the care process. You will also look into the historical use of names and labels for people with disabilities and more. Now, chapter 1, support work, the fundamentals. Here is the core principles, and I will start with the introduction. Supporting individuals who both an intellectual disability and a mental illness is rarely straightforward. Support work can be carried out by paid direct support workers, family members, or volunteers. Support can be offered in a variety of different environments, including residential, vocational, and recreation and leisure. In all aspects of support, fundamental knowledge from the field of disability studies can offer caregivers important direction. In this chapter, I will able to identify to you the guiding principles of support work. Note, historical struggles are experienced by individuals with disabilities and explain the competencies expected of direct support workers. Now, what are the guiding principles for support work? For guiding principles, or four guiding principles are essential to supporting people with disabilities. People with disabilities, just like people who do not have disabilities, they have rights related to citizenship, individual control, equality, and human rights, and the universal sign. Now, let me start with citizenship. It means that people with disabilities have the same rights and responsibilities as people without disabilities. Take note of that. Socially constructed barriers prevent participation and discriminate against people with disabilities must be eliminated. Next, individual control signifies that people with disabilities must be involved in all stages of developing disability services and policies. In all decision making that affects their lives, this is often missing in the way services have traditionally been provided. So with services directed by professionals and directed to individuals. So the shift to individual controlled services has been recent but very successful change. So those are the two. Now the next one is equality and human rights. These are pivotal in shifting approaches to providing service. In some countries, specific laws have been created to guarantee equal benefit and protection to all people. So laws prohibit discrimination based on disability. And in some countries, legislation has been passed to promote. So like employment equity, all right? So when employment equity laws are enforced, individuals cannot be denied employment for reasons related to ability. Employers are expected to make every reasonable effort to eliminate discrimination and barriers that have adverse impacts on people with disabilities. So here, people with intellectual disabilities, they can be employed in a factory, also in the stores such as Jewel Osco. They hired people with this kind of population. All right. So the next one is the universal design. This is the last one. Requires that the environment be designed to be usable by people with various disabilities. So universal design highlights an important distinction between a disability and a handicap. So an individual can have disability but not experience a handicap. So for example, or the individual may have a physical disability and use a wheelchair. A ramp in a building would allow access to the building. Removing a barrier that would handicap the individual with a physical disability. Okay, so the universal design eliminates environmental barriers that handicap individuals who have disability. Next, what are the guiding principles for support work? So these are the key points for caregivers. Guiding principles for support work state that people with disabilities have rights that relate to the first one, citizenship through freedom and or from discrimination, individual control through involvement in decisions related to their lives. Number three, equality and human rights through the benefits and protection of the law. And the fourth one is the universal design through barrier-free environment. All right, so I will type in environment right there. Now, Nelson Mandela says to deny people their human rights is to challenge their very humanity. Now, there are competencies expected for or of support workers. So, what does it take to be informed and competent when supporting someone with a disability? So, competency is an attribute, knowledge, skill, ability, or another characteristic that contributes to successful job performance. Competencies give rise to observed and measurable behaviors that contribute to individual success in the organization. Example, teamwork and cooperation, communication. So the direct support workers, regardless of the service that is provided, require competencies in working with others, assessing strengths and needs, planning and providing services, linking to resources, advocacy, documenting and report writing. So professionalism and ethical behavior and individualizing support requirements. So those are uh, competence, I'm sorry, competencies is all about. Now, working with others is an expectation for direct support workers. The typical approach is to work collaboratively with others to plan and implement support plans. So a multidisciplinary team might include professionals such as psychologists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, medical professionals, and social workers. Parents, guardians, and family members are also integral to the team, all right? So it means that all of these members are working as a team. So teams promote communication and add relationships. So they may also identify and raise awareness of strategies. What else? Resources and approaches that might be of benefit in direct support. So teams are extremely valuable in furthering positive outcomes for clients who are in difficult or complex situation. Okay, so like healthcare worker or healthcare professionals, I mentioned to my last on my last presentation the healthcare skills. Also here, it is important that you have uh, skill in this, that you work with others, you work with a team. Now, assessing strengths and needs. What is this? It is a significant part of the direct support worker's job. The approach that is most favored that identifies the talents, gifts, and skills of the individual being supported with a view to using those to manage any needs the individual might have. Individual strengths, the base assessment then focuses on the complex interplay of risk and strength among individual family members. So the family as a unit and the broader neighborhood and environment. So the individual strength-based approach is an overall philosophical view supported by policies and standards. So it refers to practice, methods, and strategies that identify and draw upon the strength of individuals, families, and the last one is communities. Now, this strengths-based practice requires a shift from a deficit approach, which emphasizes problems and pathology, so to a positive approach by Rapp, Salibi, and Sullivan, 2005 and 2006. So strengths, the base approach was or the values, the capacity, skills, knowledge, connections, and potentials of individuals and communities. Focusing on strengths does not mean ignoring or challenges or spinning struggles into strengths. It does require that people work collaboratively or people work as a team in taking an assessment of this particular individual with their strengths and needs. Now, planning and providing services. It follows assessing strengths and needs. So most services have adopted a person-centered approach. All right. So the process to assist people with disabilities and their families to build their capacities and capabilities. So this planning effort is typically a series of discussion or interactions among the person with disability, his or her family, and other members of the multidisciplinary team. The team assists the individual in developing a description that includes a preferred place to live, favorite people with whom to socialize, and preferred types of daily activities, including preferred jobs. So this description is based on the individual's strengths, capabilities, preferences, lifestyle, and cultural background. So the planning team decides what needs to be done by whom, when, and how the individual is to work toward the prepared future. So an individual program plan serves as a record of the decisions made by the planning team. So this plan forms the foundation for the work of the direct service worker. Again, so this planning and the services that will be provided is dependent upon the individual. All right. So it depends upon her strengths, capabilities, preferences, lifestyle, and cultural background. So, as a team member, you were not going to enforce a particular program or plan or services to the individual. You have again to assess, which is the first one. Um, right here, assess the strength and needs of this individual. So know what are you going to assess? Okay, so you're going to assess on the individual's strengths, her capabilities, her preferences, her lifestyle, and her cultural background. Okay, so this assessment and planning is will going to have a great effect on the program, on which is going to be implemented by the direct service worker or the caregiver. Now, how about the linking to resources? So this requires the direct support worker to have a comprehensive knowledge of the community in which the supported individual lives. All right. So community asset mapping is one approach to acquiring this knowledge. So the community asset mapping process or asset-based community development institute is that was intended to initiate the full mobilization of community and its assets around individual vision. So it allows the mapping of relationships with other organizations for funding, referrals, access to resources, joint service planning, or collaborative projects with contributed staff. So once a community's assets have been identified, now the direct support worker is in a good condition to begin linking the assets with the supported individual. Okay, so it's based on the individual's strengths and needs. Now, how about advocacy? In all its forms, seeks to ensure that people, particularly those who are most vulnerable in society, are able to have their voices heard on issues that are important to them. Advocacy supports and enables to people to access information and services. So defend and promote their rights and responsibilities and explore choices and options. So once you care and you are a direct care worker or direct support worker, you are going to advocate for this particular individual, okay? Now, how about documenting and reporting activities? All right, okay. So it takes many forms. The most common is documenting history and needs services, individual outcomes, and service information. So what are you going to document? The history, the needs services, the individual outcomes, and the service information. So any documentation should be concise, accurate, current, meaningful, and consistent. So reports can include case notes, plans, assessment, results, letters to parents, referrals to other community services. What else? Letters to funders, reports to supervisors, to mention just a few. Okay, so those are the documenting and report writing. Okay, giving you more information about documentation. So documentation serves 6 primary functions: assessment and planning, service delivery, continuity and coordination of services, supervision, service evaluation, and accountability. Again, you will be hearing more of like a familiar words, accountability, that is um, based on the HIPAA. Um, Remember that we are very much accountable for whatever the work that we had done. All right. So in the documentation, caution should be used with personal opinions and conclusions. So they promote not, I'm sorry, defamatory and negative language should be avoided. So over documentation should be avoided. And the documentation should be directed to a specific audience. Again, so the documentation serves 6 primary functions. Okay, what are those? Assessment and planning, service delivery, continuity and coordination of and then continuity, coordination of services, supervision, service evaluation, and accountability. So in the documentation, caution should be used with personal options and conclusions. Okay, so defamatory and negative language should be avoided. All right, so, and the last one, over documentation should also be avoided. All right, so, and the documentation should be directed to a specific audience. Now, what is professionalism and ethical behavior? I'm sorry. So these are the cornerstone of direct support worker practice. Professionalism is the conduct, aims, or qualities that characterize or mark a profession or professional person. So it was in 1996 in the United States, the Council Departments or for Standards of Human Service Education adopted the ethical standards of human services professionals, which are a set of standards conduct that human services professionals and educators consider in ethical and professional decision making. So that was the National Organization of Human Services. Now, how about the individualizing support requirements? These are like every person is different and may have individual support requirements that necessitate the support worker or the caregiver to have specialized competencies. Often, these competencies are specific to the environment, such as household management, budgeting, health and wellness, food safety, or job coaching. Other times, they are skills that directly respond to individual needs and may include medication administration, crisis management, and non-violent crisis intervention, or behavior management. All right, so all individuals who are being supported will present with strengths, needs, and characteristics that require specialized knowledge. Now, what are the competencies expected of a support workers? So here are the key points for you, for caregivers. Caregivers who support individuals with disabilities, particularly caregivers who are employed as a direct support workers, are expected to be competent in and able to work with others to assess, that's number one, and strengths and needs of clients. Number two, plan and provide services. Number three, link to resources. And then number four, advocate. Five, information and write reports. Number six, demonstrate professional and ethical behavior. And the last but not the least, tailor support requirements in relation to the unique requirements of clients. So keep in mind all those competencies expected of you. Now, conclusion. This chapter has provided a snapshot of fundamental knowledge that caregivers can build on as they support individuals with disabilities. In chapters that follow, we extended these fundamentals to explain support that is specific to individuals with both intellectual disabilities and mental illness. So those who support people with disabilities are in a unique position to ensure that those individuals are included in their communities. Why? To maximize the possibilities. It is important for caregivers to be guided by principles grounded by or in citizenship, individual control, equality in human rights, and universal design. Further, it is important to appreciate the historical struggles endured by people with disabilities. Knowing the competencies expected of support workers can assist caregivers, so particularly those employed in a direct support work positions to develop and strengthen their skill. So below are my references, and I will not go into I will not going to show you more about this. And all right, so next time we're going to have chapter 2 discuss. Okay, I'm going to discuss this to you. What's in the name? All right, so the language of intellectual disability, the purpose of naming, historical perspective, guidelines for choosing a name, intellectual disability, what is intellectual disability, and the key points for caregivers. So you will have all the knowledge, skill behind all these topics, all right? So this will be the end of my first PowerPoint presentation, and that is supporting individuals with intellectual disability. All right, if you have any other question, or if you have a question regarding this, you can email me. I will share this to you on the email as well if you will request one. Again, supporting individuals with disabilities or with intellectual disabilities and mental illness is a very imperative skill that you need to know. All right, and you again, this is dedicated to those who support and care for individuals with both intellectual disabilities uh, and mental illness. All right, so the knowledge and skill that you'll learn is or healthcare, mental health, social care, and disability. And support as a support work, support work, or if you're going to work with intellectual disabilities person, you should have all these skills. Okay, you should know the guiding principles for support work, which is the citizenship, individual control, equality and human rights, and the universal design. Also, you are expected to have this kind of competencies, all right? So you should know the strength and the needs of a client. Okay, so that is very important. Why? This will give uh, the other professionals to plan and provide services. All right. So and um, by doing that, like working with, you're also going to work with others. You should be confident in assessing strengths and needs, also planning and providing services, also linking to resources, and at the same time, advocacy. Okay, you will be going to advocate with your clients. Also, you have to document and report. The practice of uh, professionalism and ethical behavior is very important. And the last one is individualizing support requirements, all right, which the strength and the needs are present. Okay, so again, I am going to give you a test regarding this, and regarding this topic, regarding my presentation. And again, if you have any questions, I'm very much willing to answer. All right, thank you. Looking forward to see you on my next PowerPoint presentation. Bye.